All right, in this video, I'm going to talk about how to factor an expression. So the other day we practiced or reviewed finding the factors of a number, and we did the factor rainbow method, and we talked about the greatest common factor between two numbers. So now we're going to use all that information, and we are going to factor an expression. So in front of you, you should have the note sheet, but then there's practice problems underneath it. All right, so the top of your note sheet should look like this. So I'm going to go through the notes with you. I'm going to do this example here, and then I'm going to do some other examples on a whiteboard, and then you are going to do the problems on the bottom. All right, so it says to expand an expression, so this is our expression right here. We use the distributive property, okay? So if we want to expand that all out, that's the shortened way to write it, and we want to expand it all out. What you are doing is you are multiplying. We use the distributive property and we multiply the number on the outside of the parentheses by each term on the inside. So we just got done practicing this. We're going to do Spider-Man. So to expand this, 4 times 3x is 12x. 4 times 1 is positive 4. Okay, so that's doing distributive property. Remember, whatever's out here, we multiply to both things on the inside. All right, now what's going to happen is you're to factor something, you're going to get this, and you have to create that. Okay, so factoring an expression is the opposite of expanding the expression. To factor an expression, you find the greatest common factor and move it to the outside of the parentheses. Okay, so let's go over an example. So on this, if I gave you 4x plus 10, you need to find the factors of each of the numbers. So you need to find the factors of 4 and the factors of 10. So right here I wrote 4 and 10. So if we do the rainbow method, we have 1 and 4, and then we know that 2 times 2 is 4. So our factors are 1, 2, and 4. All right, 10, we have 1 with 10, and 2 with 5. So our factors of 10 are 1, 2, and 5. Now if you look at these, the greatest number that they have in common, the greatest factor they have in common is 2. So the GCF is 2. The greatest common factor is 2. So now we're taking 4x plus 10, and what we're doing is we're putting the greatest common factor in the outside. So now we have to ask ourselves, 2 times what would give me 4x? Well, 2 times 2 is 4, so we're going to put a 2, and then we need that x. Because if we were to do Spider-Man with this, 2 times 2 is 4, you'd have your x. So there would be the 4x. Now 10, if I have 2, how do I make positive 10? Well, that's plus 5. So 4x plus 10 right here, if you factor that, if you would get that right there. So you factored the expression. All right, so make sure you've got that all copied down. Okay, now we're going to do some practice problems. So that's just a very basic, type of problem. This would be a proficient on the rubric. I'm also going to show you another type of problem that would be proficient. This has to do with some negatives, okay? So if I had negative 2x minus 12. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the factors. Hopefully you're good at that. You can, if you can't see a factor just by looking at it, if you need to write them off to the side, that's completely fine. I'm just going to spend time in these practice problems talking about how to handle negatives and variables and things like that, okay? So when I look at that, I know the biggest number that they have in common is 2. 2 is the only thing I'm going to be able to pull out of both of those. Okay, so I know I'm going to put a 2 out here. Now, do you also notice that these have a negative and it's negative? I'm going to pull out a negative 2. You should always pull out the negative if you can. If this were not negative, and it was just subtract 12 and there was only that one, then we couldn't do this. But because these are both negative, we also could pull out the negative. All right, now negative 2 times what would give me negative 2x? Well, negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, but we don't need to put 1. It's not necessary, so we just write x. Now, we've already pulled out this negative, so we actually want to put plus there, because if we put minus, that would mean negative 2 times negative 6, which would really be positive 12, and we don't want positive 12. So we've got our negative pulled out. So now if we were to do Spider-Man here, negative 2 times x would be negative 2x. Negative 2 times positive 6 would be negative 12. And you can see then that those would match, okay? So my answer, I didn't get an eraser. So my answer would be this right here. I have factored that expression. I've pulled out my negative 2, and this is what I would need to put on the inside so that I could create that. All right, I'm going to go grab a Kleenex quick. All right, I'm going to do another practice problem. So you're just watching these and trying to understand where how I'm getting these. All right, the next one is 4x squared plus 12x squared. Okay, again, I'm not going to talk about the factors of 4 and 12. If you need to write those off to the side and do the rainbow and figure out what the biggest one they have, you can. I can tell by looking at this that 4 is the greatest common factor. So I'm going to pull out my 4. Oops. Okay, pulled out my 4. No negatives involved. We don't have to worry about that. But there's something else I see that both of them have. This should not be there. There we go. There's something else that both of these have. They at least have one x. So I can pull an x out. Okay, now 4x times what gets me 4x squared? Well, I already have one x here. I need 2. So I just need to add another x. All right, 4 times 1. Okay, I could put that imaginary 1. It's not necessary. So 4 times 1 is 4. X times x is x squared. Plus, now, I have 4x out here. I need to make 12x. Well, 4 times 3 is 12. Do I need to put an x there? I don't, because I already have my 1x out there. So now if I were to do the distributive property on this, okay, if I were to do Spider-Man, I would get this answer, and that's what I want. So that would be my answer for that one. Okay, so I can pull out the variable also. All right. Let's look at another one. 2 more examples to go over. All right, the next one is 15x cubed, x to the third power, minus 10x squared plus 5x. Okay, so again, I'm not going to talk about 15, 10, and 5, the factors. I can just tell it's 5. So I'm going to put 5 out here. What do you notice? They all have at least one x. Now, I'm not going to put negative outside because the only one that's negative is this. This is not negative, these two. So I cannot pull the negative out also. All right, so 5x is on the outside. 5x times what gives me 15x cubed? Well, 5 times 3 is 15. I already have 1x. I need 3 of them. So I need 2 more. So that would be 3x squared. We want minus 5x times 2. So 5 times 2 is 10. I need 2 x's. I have 1, so I'm just going to put 1 more. Plus, 5x times what is 5x? Well, 5x times 1 is 5x. And you have to put that 1 there because otherwise you wouldn't know that there would just be a 5x at the end if you didn't put the 1. So that 1 is not invisible. You do need to put that 1 there. Okay, so if I were to do Spider-Man on each of those, that would result in that up there. So this would be my final answer. I have factored that expression. All right, one more problem. 12a squared minus 40ab plus 16a. All right. Again, 12, 40, and 16. If you need to do your factors to figure it out, you could do that. I know that this is 4. My greatest common factor is 4. Okay. Negatives. No negative, no negative. So I can't pull a negative out. A's. Here's an A, here's an A, Here's an A. So I can pull out an A. Are there B's in all of them? Nope. So I cannot pull out the B. The B has to just stay inside. All right, 4 times 3 is 12. I have one A. I need 2 more, so I need to put another one. I'm sorry, I need 2 altogether, so I have to put 1 more. Minus 4 times 10 is 40. I already have my A out here, so that's taken care of, but I need to stick this B inside there. Now, plus 4 times 4 is 16. I have my A. I only need 1, so I just close up my parenthesis. So there is my factored expression. So this would be a beyond proficient question when you have to pull out those multiple variables like that. That's a beyond proficient. All right, so now what you're doing is you're doing the bottom half of that worksheet, pulling out the greatest common factor and then making the expression.